NextWave DV's coverage of NAB 2011 is made possible by LCD Viewfinder, the essential accessory for DSLR video, CPM Film Tools, your lightweight solution for caging the beast, Manhattan LCD, the affordable solution for high-definition monitoring, B&H, the professional source for photo, video, and pro audio.
Hi, this is Tony from NextWave DV, and we're here with Matt Jeppsen and Kendal Miller from FreshDV. Now, you guys have beat us to the punch. You've been seeing what's going on at NAB so far. What are your impressions?
We've just been on the floor for an hour or so right now, and we've actually seen some really cool stuff. Just did a little interview with Light Panels about an LED Fresnel, which is very exciting stuff. Very high output, cool light in a proper production lamp design.
Yeah, we've been following different types of lighting. I'm real interested in it, and this is kind of the first year we've seen LED lighting moved into a more traditional form factor with Fresnels and stuff. So there's been a couple manufacturers that have that. So I'm real interested to see where that's going, especially.
I know Aries got one similar that we're going to head out over there and check out pretty soon. The other cool thing we saw this morning in the O'Connor booth,
that was sick.
There's this sweet little DSLR rig. It's like a DSLR cage, and it has an audio, like the Juice Link box, basically. All those kinds of functions built into the cage over your shoulder. So you're almost using the 5D as like a head. It's almost like the SI2K head up here, cage around it. HDMI stuff is protected. You got proper monitoring, proper in and out, LEMO connectors.
HDMI to HDSDI conversion.
It's pretty sweet.
But D-taps, gain controls. I mean, it takes we were just talking about, takes about 6 devices, puts it into this cage system. Yep. And I mean, I think he's going to have a really neat market for it. ECC
Tools, and they're exhibiting in the O'Connor booth. Check it out if you guys are here on the floor. So
yeah, we'll do that.
You guys should definitely do that. It's hot stuff.
Very cool. Now, a lot of people have been saying that 2011 is the year for HDSLRs. I had a feeling that 2010 we saw a ton of innovations for HDSLRs, and with the new large sensor cameras coming out from Panasonic and Sony, do you think things are going to migrate towards that form factor being more popular, or are HDSLRs really going to still steal the show?
I don't really feel like HD DSLRs are going to go away. I feel like they're going to be maybe marginalized to a smaller role and carry less of the brunt of production, a slightly different job. Yeah. And you'll see more A-cams being the F3 and like the FS100, the AF100, and of course Epics and that sort of thing as well. Maybe Scarlett if it ever ships. I don't think that they're going to go away, and I do think we'll see more innovation from the companies that release DSLRs. But 2011 to me, I think is the year of the story. I think we've had gear for years and years and years, and we haven't quite had the tools we needed to tell the stories. Now the tools are here. They're high quality. There's no excuses. Now you got to deliver a good story. Now you've got to know how to produce content.
If you can't produce content, it doesn't matter what you have in your hand at that point of the game, But I'm agreeing. I think the year of HDSLR was like last year, the year before, right? And now, other manufacturers are starting to catch up and bring that tool set into a more traditional form factor. So I think there is going to be somewhat of a shift. There's already been a number of people talking about moving to AF100s. The F3 is a hot little camera.
Hot camera.
And so I think that it'll still be on set, and a lot of people will still use it, but it's going to have a little bit different job, So there's a shift. Yeah.
Right. And one question I've had too is with internet television really blowing up, we're seeing a lot of things migrating to that. We know that if you look at a raw HD file on your computer, you're going to see the differences between a compressed one. But the average consumer isn't watching raw HD like you would see maybe on your television set. You're seeing compressed everywhere. And so with the limitations that HDSLRs have, we all understand that they're not the perfect HD camera. But with medium being consumed at a compressed level, are HDSLRs kind of the best tool for that in a production budget?
They're not the best tool. They're an acceptable tool for many applications. I use DSLRs a lot, and I rag on their limitations all the time, but I mean, it's a lot of my work. But we've had this discussion. You don't push it hard in color correction. You have to nail it in camera. You look at there's some really interesting stuff. I was watching I was helping teach a digital cinema class with Jem Schofield the other day, and Ari came in and they showed a dynamic range test that talked about the dynamic range of like the F3 and the Alexa and the Epic, and then there was a 5D in there. At the proper exposure, they all look great. The DSLRs, you know, pushing the 5D is pushing like 10 stops of dynamic range. You don't see the differences there. Screw it up. Once they start increasing that exposure a couple stops, it falls apart, while the Alexa and the Red and the F3 in many ways are holding much of that detail. So for me with the DSLRs, it's good enough if you don't screw it up. And if you're not doing really, really heavy grading and that sort of thing. Obviously, you know, the applications are all very dependent on the camera.
That's what I was going to say is back to what he was saying originally about it being about story. It's all about like fitting the right tool to the right job, right? And so like two things is like there are two areas I think where you will see a difference regardless of the actual compression and codec that's used. Dynamic range is one of them. And if you're going for a stylized look or you're really wanting to push something and, you know, take it in a certain direction, that's a little hard to do with a 5D just because of the codec. So while you may not see it directly, like, you know, in terms of macro blocking and that, the way that you can stylize or control your contrast,
it can be limiting.
It can be limiting. So again, match the tool to the job.
And I think what we've seen is a bunch of really creative people use a very imperfect tool to their benefit, and now we're seeing more professional tools. Again, the F3, not to harp on it, I want that camera so bad. That would solve so many problems I have with DSLRs and would give me abilities that I don't have with the 5D. And it would also give me a lot more room to screw things up. So
it changes your shooting style. I mean, and that's something else that with the form factor, you know, has to be taken into consideration into what will translate on the internet. And it's, again, it may not be the macro blocking, but it may be the way that you can work with the rig and the way you know, that you handle.
A great example of fitting the tool to the job. I love DSLRs. I have all the DSLR rigs in all the world. We can do all that crap.
Yeah.
We're not shooting NAB with a DSLR because it's a drag. It's not an ENG camera. I want to be able to pop the zoom. I want to be able to. I don't want to be stuck on a prime or having, you know, my hand in this DSLR lens or whatever. Audio, you know, syncing up the audio afterwards. It's just a drag, you know. So we have the EX1 for this task. Works great for this application. Yeah. So it's not as highly stylized, you know, but we're not here for that. We're here to deliver good content.
Right.
And you guys can check out FreshDV's content on their website, freshdv.com, along with your training resources and a lot of great stuff. So thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, man.
We'll catch you next time.
Awesome, yeah. Enjoy the show.
Thanks.
Subscribe to us on YouTube and visit nextwavedv.com for more news and training for video and filmmakers.